On July 20th, 2026, the government took a chainsaw to a forest of local agreements. With a single cabinet decision, they announced they were severing every Mana Whakahono Rohe agreement in the country, leaving deals already signed between iwi and local councils to die. The official justification was that a sudden flurry of backroom deals had created a crisis of, quote, democratic accountability. Lobby groups warned the public about a creeping co-governance threat taking over local planning, but the tool they were destroying was a standard planning mechanism. These agreements were actually created as a lawful statutory instrument back in 2017, written and implemented by a conservative, national-led government. A Mana Whakahono Rohe agreement simply lets a local iwi and a council agree in writing on how they will work together. As Ngāpuhi Chair Rowena Tana explains, it provides a seat at the table. These agreements offer no veto authority. They only ensure tangata whenua are notified and their views given effect to before a consent is granted. Te Pāti Māori co-leader Debbie Narawa Packer confirmed the exact same limitation in Parliament. The council always kept the pen. The agreement is a guaranteed chair in the room, ensuring people whose mana comes from the land are told what happens to their river. If this mechanism is just a basic framework for local consultation, the government's decision to destroy the entire system is a massive overreaction. The government claimed they had to act because councils and iwi were rushing into a gold rush of new agreements. They pointed to a sudden spike in negotiations, claiming the system was spiraling out of control. This chart tracks the number of agreements over time. You can see a low baseline of just 8 existing deals, until a sudden 150% spike. That spike happened because the government announced it was about to weld the door shut. Iwi and councils rushed to sign lawful agreements before they lost the right to do so. The minister used the stampede he caused as evidence that the system couldn't be trusted. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, manufacturing the exact emergency you later claim to be solving. The actual catalyst for the cut wasn't a sudden crisis of planning. RMA Reform Minister Chris Bishop admitted it out loud, stating, "Federated farmers wanted us to get rid of Mana Whakahono agreements, which we've done. The lobby named its price, and the minister delivered the policy change exactly as requested." That alignment was backed by a highly coordinated effort. In mid-July, the Taxpayers Union launched a donation-funded campaign specifically demanding that the National Party abolish the agreements entirely. Here is the timeline. The campaign launched its funding appeal on July 17th. A mere 72 hours later, on July 20th, Cabinet made the official decision to scrap the tool. Compare that turnaround to this. Exactly 263 days earlier, the Ministry for the Environment put a promise in writing, committing the Crown to upholding these exact agreements and transitioning them into new legislation. Ngāpuhi, the largest unsettled iwi in the country, signed their local agreement with the Far North District Council, relying on that written word. The government tore up that written commitment exactly 110 days before a general election. A Crown promise was discarded the moment a lobby group applied pressure, converting Maori rights into an election product for the voting base. To justify the decision, the government pointed to a massive financial upside. They claimed the reforms would deliver $13.3 billion in savings over the next 30 years. But the math ignores a massive hidden reality. Independent reports highlight a regulatory relief liability that could cost ratepayers up to $1.99 billion. It also ignores the long-term expense of managing broken relationships between local councils and hapu. The cultural context here is kaitiatanga, a legal and ancestral duty of care to the whenua, passed down through whakapapa. By removing the seat at the consenting table, the legislation severs the guardian from the environment they are bound to protect. A local council can now decline to speak to an iwi before ancestral land is developed. The decision establishes that a written Crown promise to Māori holds less weight than a 3-day pressure campaign from a farming lobby. Rangatiratanga exists as the inherent authority of the whenua. While the government has stripped the formal seat from the table to satisfy donors, the foundational relationships and obligations to the land remain in place.